Trevor, how stunned are you by the offensive performance in the last 6 quarters?
Yeah, I mean, we suck right now, so I'm pretty shocked.
Hey, happy Monday, boys and girls. Welcome to the show. Andrew.
Sorry for the fruity language there.
I mean, look, sometimes the truth hurts, and when you're not doing so well, you have to be honest with yourselves. This is a gut check moment for all of us right now.
I had people reach out to me this yesterday and ask if I was going to, give you some crap about the Jags being 0-2, and I said, I don't know that I need to. I don't know that anyone beats up on Tim for the Jags' performance more than Tim beats up on himself.
I clipped that. I clipped that little spot from Trevor saying, we suck right now, and I looped it. I sent it to, my family, my son. I just said, when you guys, whatever you're feeling this week, here's 30 seconds of Trevor just spitting truth bombs for you. So that's kind of how I feel.
It was a long day for you yesterday.
It was a very, very long day. And all that to say, it's because yesterday was Sunday.
And this right here, it's the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Andrew, we're here. We're live. We're not as in person as we'd like to be. I had a long day. I'm feeling it today. You have sickies at home.
I've got 2 sick kids at home, so yeah. It's one of those days. Clearly, and when we go live like this, I think the software that we use has a harder time getting everything out. And right now, we're the most popular show on the internet. So we're so excited that you're watching, whoever you may be.
Hey,
but
we're here, whether there's 2 viewers or 2,000 viewers each and every Monday. We've never missed. This is episode 3,000. It's not true.
Except for the past 2 weeks. Last week I had a funeral. I had a funeral on Monday morning.
Yep.
And the week before that was Labor Day. But Timmy, we're here. We've got 3 weeks of ministry to discuss.
That's a lot.
We've got 2 weeks of the NFL season to get into.
I don't want to.
Because that's why people tune in, because they want to hear us talk about sports.
I mean, the bottom line is the Jags suck, and the Bucks look like potential Super Bowl champions. Like, that's just all there is to it. I don't know what else we need to say.
I'm not mad at it. I am
the Saints,
not
the
mad
Saints
at
are
it.
a shocker. I cannot believe how good they look, but
it's terrifying. Terrifying. So Tim,
what are you gonna do?
let's get right into it. You got up
You like that? That's a transition. You change sides and everything. Andrew, 2 Sundays in a row. I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. 2 Sundays in a row. And you're a great friend. You're a great pastor. You're a pastor to pastors. The last 2 Sundays, Andrew has texted me after our third service, usually a couple hours. He knows I want to watch the Jags game. He'll text me after the third service, which, by the way, if you didn't know, we're running 3 services right now.
It's a lot of services.
That's where we're at. And
Till death do us part.
Andrew texts me each and every Sunday now and says, "Hey, buddy, how tired are you?" To which I have had the same response, and it doesn't matter what approach I take on Saturday. It doesn't seem to shake it at all. My response to that text message 2 weeks in a row now has been Easter level tired. I don't know how else to. I mean, if you've been pastoring for 1 year or for 50 years, you know what that means. There is a different level of fatigue on Easter Sunday, and it doesn't matter if you have 1 service or 30 services. There is an Easter level fatigue that hits because of that mounting pressure and weight of knowing, this is Super Bowl Sunday,
It's a big deal.
For me, I have felt that now 2 weeks in a row, and I told Steph yesterday, I have to fix something. I just can't. This can't be every single week. I can't, be this exhausted every single Sunday. And then waking up today, I felt it still. I was like, yeah, this is not good. So I don't know if that means.
Well, you didn't just preach 3 times yesterday.
And that's
you had a wedding rehearsal
Fair.
on Saturday night.
Yep.
And then you preached 3 times yesterday and did a wedding last night. So that's above and beyond.
It was Yeah, it's been several long ministry weekends in a row. So to your point, I have not had a normal ministry weekend. Is there such a thing? I have not had a normal ministry weekend since we started 3 services. I'm looking at the calendar now. It looks like this coming weekend will be somewhat normal. I've got fatherly duties on Saturday, but no ministerial duties. So maybe that will help. And then Sunday appears to be just a normal Sunday, and the Jaguars are not playing on Sunday, which is probably going to be really good for my soul.
That will are they Thursday night or Monday?
Monday night at Buffalo, which is terrifying. But I told Steph today, I said, I know that I am a mere mortal because I think, and Andrew, you know this is probably true, the Jaguars looking so lackluster has probably not helped with my fatigue levels on Sunday. I'm not energetic. I'm angry.
It is amazing how a sports team that I've never been a part of can destroy my mood or elevate my mood. So I get it.
Hey, you've been feeling real good though, because your team.
I've been feeling good across everything except for except for the Rays.
Minus
the
baseball.
Rays are
I'm not talking
terrible
baseball. Yep,
yeah,
not talking baseball, but football wise.
But it's been a good football season thus far. So last Sunday morning, I was up until 2 a.m. because Liberty did not kick off until after 10, and it was on ESPN2. So I think kickoff ended up being like 10:35, and that game ended after 2 a.m. So that made for a rough Sunday morning.
That's too much.
But
yep,
that's
a lot.
If you're playing, I kept saying, as soon as we take the lead, I'll turn this off. And they didn't take the lead until there was 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the game. So that became an issue.
I will say the saving grace with the 3 services has been we've shortened our in-between time. Mm-hmm. So we used to have 9 and 11, and our services typically run an hour and 5 minutes. And with an hour...
That's a big break. That's a lot of time in between.
I think and I talked to Sarah, our worship director, and we both were feeling this because we'd have this long break in between services, and it's enough time to start shutting down and wanting to unplug, and then it's no, I've got to stay up. So
I've got to be on, yeah,
right. With less than 30 minutes in between services, by the time you're done talking to people, the countdown clock is rolling again. So that's helpful at least, because then it's keep going, just keep going.
Is the parking lot getting cleared out? Is that going to have to become an announcement like, hey, we are so excited you guys want to visit. You should join a small group because we need your parking spot.
I talked to the parking team last week. I haven't heard this week, but it was nice last week. People have spread themselves out between the 3 services. I will say the 9:30 has become the popular one because it's not 9 o'clock and it's not 11 o'clock. So I think for some people, 9 o'clock was just a shade early, but 11 o'clock was like, oh, it's so late. So it
takes up my whole day.
Yeah. So I think we probably had 15 to 20% of our 11 o'clock start coming to 9:30. So I'm having to tell people now, I get it, 9:30 is a great time, but if you want to wake up early, there's plenty of room at 8, and if you want to sleep in, there's still some room at the 11, but 9:30 there's just no room in that service. But plenty of room at the other 2. Plenty of room at the 8. We've got a few early birds, not a lot of them.
How are you enjoying, or is it once you're preaching the same thing 3 times in the same day, do you know when the punchline is coming? Are you anticipating certain things?
Yeah, it's bizarre how little I'm having to look at my notes at the 11. Typically, when I preach I'm manuscript everything, but once I hit the 11 and I started doing my quotes on screen, this commentator says, and so now that my quotes are on the confidence monitor, I know they're going to be up there, so I can literally maintain eye contact and just look up at the quote.
So you don't have to.
I don't have to flat out read the quote. And the same thing with the scripture. With the scripture on the confidence monitors, that's been super helpful too. So I've been less notes dependent. I still have them there. My manuscript is my manuscript. I can't get off that because if I do, I'm going to lose track of time. I could probably preach the sermon because we go verse by verse and I remember most of what, I've jotted down, but I don't think I would stay within my time frame if I went off manuscript. So I'm going to stay.
Yeah, I think that
especially could get... with 3 services, dude. I took a little bit of a chance this weekend and I did 2 sections in my manuscript where I just put insert story here and I didn't manuscript the story and I intentionally left the word count short and it was fine. but I know that's a huge risk. So I typically manuscript my illustrations as well, so I know exactly how long I'm going to be running. And I did that this week without manuscripting them. It worked out fine, but I don't think that's something I want to routinely do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I completely get it. I have been like, hey, you know, I'm depending too much on the manuscript. I'm just going to go up there with an outline, and it never ends up being shorter. I think that's our fear is, oh, if I don't have this, and this, then I'll be 24 minutes and people will be mad at me. First of all, no one would be mad at us if we preached for 24 minutes.
Nope.
And second of all, that's never the issue. If I don't
Matt's
have
a big
my
fan.
notes,
Matt, big fan of the 8 a.m. Hey, encourage more people to come. We've got plenty of room at the 8 a.m. Early birds. You can go get those. Worms.
I was going to say you should like serve coffee or something, but only at the 8 a.m.
We talked about
to
doing a full
try
on
to
breakfast.
incentivize-
Hey,
Yeah.
we are serving food at the 8 a.m. if you want to get up early because we need more people at 8 a.m. to free up some space at the 9:30 for sure. It's not
I
a bad
get
idea.
it.
It's not a bad idea.
I get it. I don't even remember who I was talking to. I was talking about my previous church, and we had two services. One was, but like not identical. One was very contemporary. It was still stained glass windows and, you know,
Yep.
a 60-year-old dude playing guitar, but it was, you know, Chris Tomlin contemporary. And then the other one was pipe organ and choir robes. But the youth group Sunday school hour was only during the traditional service. And so the kids who were most likely to stay for Sunday school were the ones whose parents were at the traditional service, which was not a good mix because most of the younger families were at the contemporary service. And so we started to I had a couple of kids in the youth group who got driver's licenses like all at the same time, and I would just give them my church card and be like, hey, go to McDonald's. At that time they had, I think, sausage McMuffins or breakfast burritos were $1. And so I was like, hey, go get 20 of these. And for $20 a week, we built the youth group Sunday school class from about 5 or 6 kids to about 20 kids, just because food, man.
Food does wonders.
And everyone's like, well, what you win them with is what you win them to. And I say, oh, yeah? How did that work out for Jesus with those loaves and fishes? If
You're not
Jesus
wrong.
fed people, you can feed people too.
Andrew, I think that youth pastor brain of yours it's never left. When you reached out to me this week and you were asking about my SNES that I have, the SNES Mini that came out a couple years ago,
Yeah.
I just assumed Andrew's planning a youth group event and he needs a
I was
Super
not.
Nintendo. You were not.
I was not. Timmy,
on like retro birthday party.
we have 2 boys with back-to-back birthdays. We have September 9th and September 10th at our house, and both of them wanted like pretty big, several $100 things this year for their birthday. And Mom and I were like, well, hey, we can do that, but that probably means we won't have a party. And then maybe 3 weeks ago, the 2 of them were talking, and they decided, hey, no, we actually do want a big party instead of the big gifts that we were asking for. And so we were kind of throwing a party together last minute-ish.
So the plan was changed with little
Yes,
time.
the plan was changed middle of August for a September, you know, for a Friday the 13th birthday party.
Sure.
So we had 3 or 4 weeks to throw it together. And so I just said to Melissa, I've got an idea. You're in charge of food. I got everything else. And I went and spent about $25 on lights from Temu. So shout out to Temu to give me some
us.
cool LED lights. For our church
35
fellowship hall.
cents a week from Temu.
There you go. 35 cents can get you a lot from Temu.
That's what I hear.
So we did the kind of disco lights and the LEDs in our fellowship hall, and then we brought in one of our big TVs from home. But we have 2 65-inch TVs on rolling stands at church. So we had 2 switches and an Xbox on the big TV. Then we had a Wii on I've got a projector that I got for Christmas a few years ago that might have been used 5 times ever. So we had a Wii bowling on a giant projector wall.
Perfect.
And then we had a couple other retro systems, including yours. We had like 30 kids in our fellowship hall just playing video games for several hours on Friday night. And it was spectacular. It was a lot of work on me because I had to tear down and then reset back up the fellowship hall. You know, so I was stacking 80 or so chairs and moving tables out and all that stuff.
You
And
were
we have
you
the
were
preschool.
being a good youth pastor again.
I was being a dad. I was
know.
being a dad, and then we had several kids. We had several parents were like, "Oh," and we had parents were like from the schools that didn't know that I was the pastor. They're like, "You can just rent this place out. Does it come with the TVs?" They're
Yep.
asking me about having the birthday
Comes
parties.
with
I
all
was
the
like,
consoles.
"Yeah."
And for
Kinda. I
a
was like,
small
"Well,
setup and teardown fee, I can run this party for you.
I could, we had to
Andrew starts
eventually
his own party down. You could do it.
turn off the big Bluetooth PA system because the kids were figuring out how to hack into it. So that became an issue after a while. But
It was the
all in
Bluetooth
all-
system.
all in all,
Yep.
it was pretty great, but it was exhausting. I was at church and I was doing family stuff, but at church.
Sure.
So Friday is supposed to be my day off, where these days I've been sitting in a coffee shop grading papers,
Yep.
and instead I was at church and I had a kid with a doctor's appointment, so it was a later start in the day. I spent about an hour and a half in the morning loading up consoles and TVs into the car because we had 2 TVs from the house, one big one and then a little one. And then I was at
2
church
TVs?
from.
You guys have 2 TVs? Nobody has 2 TVs.
Well, that was a Back to the Future reference, and I appreciate it.
The only reason I had to throw that in there, Zoe woke up on Saturday in BTTF mood, watched all 3 films. She said, "Dad, I don't have to do anything today. Can I watch all 3 Back to the Futures?" To which I replied, "You are your father's daughter." Like, is that not the perfect? I couldn't do that. I had things to do, but is that not the perfect Saturday? Like, that's
she's
how you
kind of
relax.
always been the Larson's favorite Miller, particularly one of the boys, but.
To complete
Tim-
all 3 films in this, that's just a beautiful thing. I love that so much about my daughter.
One of the first times that Melissa and I ever hung out was so we met working at a summer camp, and a few weeks later, like one of the older guys who was working at the camp, who actually had his own apartment, like reached out to everyone, was like, "Hey, everyone come over to my place and we're going to have a Back to the Future marathon
Yes.
day." And that was
Yes.
like the first time Melissa and I hung out after we had been at camp to see if the spark was real outside of camp.
But
So,
how many times have
Tim-
you watched Back to the Future Part 2 unedited? I think I used to watch it on TBS as a kid.
It's
So
a
this
little
was
bit
on
different.
Netflix, so I'm watching some of it with Zoe, and I'm like,
Yeah,
thankfully it was just
that's
Zoe in the room.
inappropriate.
She's like, "Dad, that's weird." I'm like, "Yeah, that's weird."
Yes, yes, it is. But Timmy, the punchline of that before is I was at church on my day off for 12 hours,
See, that's
which it's and when you're
get it.
at church, even if you're like there as a parishioner or whatever, if
I
you
know.
work there and you're there on your day off, there's still people that want to
I get it. Trust me. I get it.
the parents of church kids that want to talk about church things at your kid's
Yep.
birthday party or
Oh, yeah.
whatever it may be. So there's that. But Tim, let's keep going with Back to the Future, because
I'm in.
I've got to run something by you.
Yep.
I've got my big sabbatical trip coming up here in November.
It's
I'm
getting
going to
close.
be in. We're less than 2 months out.
Wow.
I am going to be in Scotland by myself for about 10 days, and then my wife is coming over and meeting me in London. My wife is a giant musical theater nerd. We've got a New York trip planned in the summer for her
Love it.
all-time favorite musical, which is now starring Nick Jonas, is going to be on Broadway for the first time ever. So we're
Whoa.
going to go see the last 5 years once
big name.
school's out this summer. It is a big name. It's an expensive ticket. Fortunately, the Rays are also playing the Mets the weekend that we're going up, so I've got priorities in life.
Let's go.
Do you want me to send you the info? We can double date.
Oh, Steph would love it.
So we are going to London, and my wife did not realize about the proximity of London's West End and all of their theater stuff to where we're actually going to be. And I mentioned it, and she got all excited. Tim, I have no desire to go see Wicked. She's seen Wicked multiple times, but seeing Wicked on the West End is apparently like a big deal. You should do it.
Sure it is.
But I'm like, Melissa, look at what else is there. There's the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is playing while we're there.
Yep.
The weird Stranger Things play is in London while we're there. But personally, I would like to spend my money either going to see Mrs. Doubtfire the musical, or
I heard that's a winner.
Back to the Future the musical is playing
What?
in like a super cool old theater about 3 blocks from our hotel while we're in London. And so I am trying to convince my wife,
That's
like,
pretty cool.
you can go see Ariana Grande be in Wicked in the theaters here in a couple weeks. You can't see Back to
gonna
the
be an
Future, the
amazing film.
musical, anywhere else. So
No.
that's what I'm working on. So
I didn't know Back to the Future the musical existed.
I will send you stuff when we're done recording. It looks
What?
spectacular. Now, unfortunately, it's only the first one, which means we're not going to get ZZ Top doing the
Which is such an iconic scene.
I love the third Back to the Future. I know a lot of
It
people
was my
are like,
favorite as a
"Oh."
kid. It was my
As a kid,
I was a
it was-
big Western fan, so you give me a
And,
Western plus time travel. There's nothing better. That was it.
The Pie Tin Frisbee. It's just great.
Perfection.
Mm.
Andrew, I sent something to you not long ago. I thought I'd give you a heads up because I didn't know if this guy's this person, gal, shall remain nameless. I didn't know if this individual was sending out resumes to everyone.
Anybody and everybody.
Because maybe that's a thing. But I got a very unsolicited resume in my inbox, which does not happen often, especially from someone that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met. I don't know. Like, how do you handle those? Like, we're not hiring right now. Is that like a thing in ministry land? You just, even if a place isn't hiring, you just say, you know what?
You
Here,
find
I'm
a
really
church
good at
you like,
this.
and say, "Hey, here's my
Here's
resume."
Here's the really weird part. Like, theologically, we weren't even close. Like, you could just venture over to Lakeview's website. There's a What We Believe tab. And look, you're going to find our majors right there, our closed-handed issues. We're not going to waiver those. And, like, reading through this resume, I'm like, there's, like, 6 strikes in there. I'm like, this is not even close. I was just wondering, is that a thing? Have you ever done that? I certainly have not ever done that.
Well, so I would say, see, you have never really had to look for a job as a grown-up.
I have not.
You're right. How old were you when you got hired at Lakeview?
I was 22.
So yeah,
Right.
And when I was coming home from Texas, the summer of 2011, we had a baby and another on the way, and needed something in the works. And so there were like cool churches, and church social media was not. It was 15 years ago. Church social media was not what it is now. And
CJ,
so
I
there
thought
were-
that might have been you. CJ's just looking to move to Florida. I was wondering. I was like, but if it's CJ, and he threw the weird theology in there to throw me off. Well played,
that
CJ.
must have been it.
Yeah.
But so there were a few churches that I followed before you could like really just follow every church, who I was like, it would be cool to connect with them. So
Sure.
I know I specifically remember one guy whose name I won't mention because he's still pastoring here in Tampa. And I sent him an email. I was like, hey, here's my situation. And like we had mutuals and stuff, and
Right.
he sent me back like a 1-line email saying, I don't think we will ever be a multi-staff church. I'll pass your name on to anybody else that I know who's looking. And now they're very much a multi-staff church, but that was 15 years ago. So
But this is
I sent-
2024. Churchstaffing.com exists. You can hop on and
Yes.
see anything and everything that's open. You know exactly who's hiring. I don't know why you would even feel the need to reach out to random churches when churches literally post, here's the position we're looking for.
I think part of it is if you've never been in ministry, you don't know how.
But this guy's
It is
resume
to-
had like multiple.
This was a 3-page long resume for someone that had like an equivalent to a Word of Life certificate. There were no degrees earned,
Yeah,
and
for
yet So I don't want to be that guy, but I have a doctorate in my resume, and I've been.
Do I need to put back up the banner?
vocation-
The banner is here, ladies and gentlemen.
you can.
Dr. Andrew Larson. It's right there.
I'm just saying I have been steadily employed in vocational ministry since 2004, and have multiple fancy pants degrees in my resume as one page.
So fancy.
This was a 3-page resume that kind of said nothing. But if you are trying to be in a specific field in a specific geographic location, I guess this is what you do. I'd say the best case is find a church that you can serve in and maybe start looking for ways that a staff position could be added in what you're doing. But I don't know.
Matt says, good to be back. Missed you guys for the last. Matt, we've missed you. He said he had the same thing. He'd love to know if it's the same. Matt, I'll text you. He says there is a Practically Pastoring connection, and Andrew, I didn't look. I don't think so
because it was a somewhat local.
It was a local.
Person.
Yes, I did see that. But still,
So, I don't know.
I'll text you after the show, Matt. We'll find out. Riley says the summer you left me. Andrew, do you remember that summer?
I do. So Riley was interning for me, and he was committed for the whole summer, and I left at the end of June.
And
so
you weren't committed.
well, no, it was there was other stuff going on.
Oh,
Riley
I had no idea.
Well, we didn't know each other back then, Timmy, and
No, we would have hated each other
so-
back then, so it worked out well.
yeah, we would have, because we both thought we should be taken very seriously. We
we were
both
so
thought,
serious.
man, people should listen to me. Almost like the guy that posted in the DYM group last night that I was texting you guys about. The 24-year-old just looking for opportunities to speak at camps and retreats. Because
Jerry
Yeah.
says, "What's
Jerry,
up,
I missed
fellas?"
you.
Oh,
I've
Jerry,
missed you, bud.
So good to see you. Erica says, ChatGPT. This is a great idea. You too can be a minister with a fresh fictional resume. I mean, how good, Andrew, have you tried this yet? How good? So if we plug in all of our information, could ChatGPT crank out the coolest resume for us?
Probably, I would just
But
go to
I'd like-
Canva though and use one of their free templates.
I'd like to be one person here. Like, can we combine all of our skill sets? Can Tandrew become a reality with the ultimate ministry?
Tim Andrew.
Yeah,
I think
That's what I'm thinking.
I think it would be spectacular.
we should try it.
I
We should
think
absolutely
it
try
would be great. So Tim, did you reply to the guy?
No.
No, just
Because the email didn't go
Just-
directly to me. It like went through someone. It went through like the secretary, or went through office
Oh.
manager, and then it went. Then it finally got to me. I'm like,
it.
yeah.
But your email's on the website, isn't it? Or are you so big time that you don't even put your email out there? You're like those mega churches where everybody else on staff, you can click on their email, but the pastor you can't actually click on his. Is
So
that you now?
You can click contact us, and it all goes to the same email. Mary, our office admin, she said she would prefer if we did not put our emails on the website, and if it would all go through her, she would like to filter them before it gets to us. And I'm
Okay,
so
so
good with that.
that's the case for everybody. So it's
Everybody.
not like okay.
We were getting multiple spam email accounts set up in our names because
Yes.
our emails were on the website. So
Were
as
you
soon as we
getting
took our
the-
emails off the website,
Hey, I'm in a
all of
meeting
sudden-
right now. I need you to run to the store and buy me $300 worth of eBay gift cards.
We were also getting like, so I quote unquote I would email Mary and it would say, hey, I need to readjust my reoccurring giving. I'm going to send you my bank account numbers. Can you update that in the giving center of planning center, like that specific of emails? And I was like, that's weird.
These spammers are doing work. Spammers.
Dude, the spam
Whatever they may be.
scammers, they are getting legit. They called my dad and said, you missed jury duty, sent him a text with a very real summons that said, you're now under arrest. And they were on the phone with him for over 30 minutes, had him convinced. And at the end of the phone call, when my dad was like, I'm out of town, I can't get there. They're like, well, if you give us your credit card, we can go ahead and take a payment for this. And my dad's like, wait, what? Calls the sheriff's office. They're saying like, sorry, Mr. Miller, this is one of the most popular scams right now, and they're getting a lot of people, and it's really, really pro. Like, it looks good, it sounds good, and a lot of people are falling for it. Andrew, the scammers,
what a
even
time
in ministry,
to be
land are
alive.
real. It is a great
What a
time to be
time
alive. Some
to
of
be
us
alive.
are all over social media. Some of us are just completely off of social media. Andrew, you sent something very bizarre to me this week. I don't even know how to explain it. You're going to have to walk this. I can't. I just don't know where to go with this.
It might be my favorite thing that has happened to me ever in ministry.
But you didn't even set up the why. Like, why did this happen in the first place? Like,
So the
it's weird.
do we want to? I don't even know how I want to tell the story. Timmy, I got a text last week from a friend of mine that said, "Hey, this is kind of weird, but are these your feet?" And then I was sent a series of screenshots,
As in your feet were on the
as in
internet,
pictures of my feet on the internet.
and you're not even getting royalties. You're not getting
No.
paid for this. You're just
I'm not-
telling me that some. Did I find it?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Is
So,
that the photo
those are-
circulating
those-
the internet right now?
Those are my toes. There's a
You
few
realize
others, like
I didn't have
sometimes
to
I'm
pay
wearing
for
socks. I know. That's just free out there. Tim, and so I was laughing hysterically because I knew
that.
exactly
Why?
what it was. Well, Tim, in the year like 2011, 2012, remember when Foursquare was like the cool thing? And
Okay, that
you
was
got
my
points
question because
for-
I'm looking at the bottom here and it clearly says Foursquare, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that is my office at my
Nobody
previous
uses
church.
Foursquare anymore.
Well, Tim, here's the situation. The church that I served at for 6+ years previously, they made the decision about a year ago to completely scrub themselves from the internet, all socials, all everything gone, which is really funny.
Why?
Because here's the thing: for the first several years that the current pastor is there, his wife is their communications director, and she was trying desperately to get them to go viral. Like there was a new hashtag on everything, like hashtag the pastor's name was like on every post that they would make. It was like, ooh, they were trying really, really hard. And then there became a deep felt conviction after not going viral, after trying for several years. And the church and church leadership apparently had the conviction that the church should be just for the gathered saints. It is not, that there's evangelism to the outside world, but the church itself existed for the gathered saints. So why are we putting so much time, effort, and energy into social media stuff? And so they scrubbed everything, every picture, so there's no youth group account, there's no church account, there's no nothing. Except for the fact that when I used to check in on Foursquare in my office back when poses like this were kind of funny in 2011, 2012, so there's these like 14, 15-year-old pictures. There's other pictures of my feet there as well, Tim. So now if you pull up Apple Maps and you put in this church's name, I'm assuming this could happen from anywhere on the planet. If you put in Faith Community Church, Seminole, Florida in your maps, what comes up?
You just said it out loud.
I mean, I haven't tried it on Apple Maps on my desktop here, but if you put in the church's name, if you put in any church or any business's name, pictures that people have posted will pop up. But the only pictures that because no one uses Foursquare anymore, so those exist on the internet for forever. I don't even know how to get rid of them. So now if someone searches for the church instead of a picture of, pretty stained glass, kids playing,
That's what I'm
someone in
saying.
a Bible study.
Why not just a picture of the building? Like, what? Why can't you
Instead
have
of-
that?
Instead of just
They're like, we got a great idea.
the Google Street picture of the building, when you search that church's name, I think it's just on Apple Maps, but what comes up is just pictures of my feet.
Kirk says, you guys are so far removed from youth ministry. Our youth group plays 9 Square every Wednesday. Kirk, this is
Listen, I would be
it's a great
a big fan. I would dislocate my shoulder trying to play. It's fantastic. But
You did not dislocate your shoulder posing for these photos.
no, I had this awesome recliner in that office that I clearly loved, and it is just my favorite thing that ever happened.
But I just like someone from the church has seen this, right? So they've made no effort to do anything about this.
I don't know that they know what to do. They're gonna hire like a search engine.
Have you Googled this yet?
So, like I'm clicking through right now, and there's like the only pictures that are coming up. There's like a couple like trunk or treat pictures from at some point,
Googling
but
this right
literally everything else is a Foursquare picture that I like. There's like pictures of my kids from a billion years ago.
Oh, I see it.
But it's only my pictures from Foursquare that come up. And because for whatever reason, the
So
first
weird.
ones are pictures of my feet.
Like someone discovered this and then sent it to you and said, "Are
Someone's-
these your toes?"
Again, I don't know that anything has made me laugh harder, like laughing to the point of crying.
It's over the top. Like, how is this real?
But it's because they decided to scrub everything. Why would you do that? Like,
I
hey,
don't know. I don't know.
even if you're not posting all the time, you still
Yeah.
want to have like how do people find you? Like,
I don't know.
It's
What if the gathered saints move to a new area and said
Yeah.
saints are looking for a church?
a church.
They're not looking for toes.
They're not looking for toes.
I was like, hope not.
It just is. It's the silliest thing ever. But
Hilarious.
it's not just that it's funny. The reason that it happened was we're not going to be like all those other churches putting time and energy into social media. We're above that.
I love
and
it.
because of that,
it's bit them so hard.
right in the toe. It bit them right in the foot.
Oh, that is.
But
just
but
perfect.
what is worse? A church that's like, hey, we're not going to have any social media, or a church that has really bad social media.
Yeah,
like, I'm
they're
thinking
both
of a-
equally as bad. Equally as bad.
There's lots
mean,
of churches out there that have all of the clip art,
Sure,
nothing but the bulletin board clip art kind of posts, or they post once every 6 months.
I
So
mean,
I don't
the
know.
argument of something is better than nothing could probably be made there, but you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Something's better than nothing, but you have to at least care about what you post, right? Like, there should be
Yeah,
some effort into it. Like, this should, to me, it's like whenever we post a Lakeview something, my first thought is does this feel like Lakeview? Like, does this post look and feel like Lakeview? And typically it's going to be a worship center pick. It's going to be in the courtyard. It's going to be a face. Or if we do have a big event we need to let people know about, we'll put the event on there. But it's not going to be toes. I mean,
it's it's not going to be 15-year-old feet pics of Andrew. But can we talk about how great? Can we talk about how great my office was there, though?
It was a
It was
nice office.
spectacular. It was isolated from like the rest of the staff.
Yeah, I do miss like the vintage youth pastor office, which was tucked away in the student center, like that.
It was like it was a small group space for like 1 hour a week. Therefore, it had to be big, but it also had couches and stuff in there, so naps were possible.
Perfect.
Oh, it was a great time to be alive.
Those were the days.
Which is why my feet looked so happy in those pictures.
Happy Feet. Absolutely.
Happy Feet.
I mean,
It's
what else would you
about the
say
time
about
that Happy Feet came out.
Okay, Andrew. So if you guys decide you're going to scrub social media, you're going to have to find a way to pull up Foursquare and somehow
I don't even know
remove
how do you.
yourself from Foursquare. I got nothing.
I have not used Foursquare since you can
The feet
probably scrub through those and find the
I
last time I
remember
used
the
Foursquare.
last time you used it. It's right here. I'm looking at it. That's the last time you used Foursquare. It's right there.
Can you imagine the weirdos showing up to their church and being so disappointed now?
I thought this was going to be.
This is my
very
kind
different.
of place.
You said gathered saints. I thought you said gathered feet. Yeah, this is not.
Why is
I mean,
everybody
Andrew-
wearing socks?
Riley's right. How beautiful are the feet? Maybe they could just add this verse right to their pages. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. I mean, it seems to fit. Could be their new tagline. Oh boy,
Timmy, I've got
Awesome.
a question for you.
Yeah.
You for a season not too long ago before you hired Todd, who is wonderful and is making you look
Killing
bad all the time because of how hard he works.
Killing it.
Tim, you were the de facto senior pastor, youth pastor, and you wanted youth group to be good because you've got kids in the youth group.
3, in fact.
3 of them now. Timmy, I have 2 in the youth group right now. I've been serving since Dylan got married about
Which
2.5
was-
years ago.
That's a long time.
I know.
I did 8
And
months, and I thought I might not survive.
I committed to my elders at the beginning of this past summer that I was going to be the youth pastor through the end of this school year, because I look at if someone turns up that's going to work out well for us, then awesome, but we're still in a part-time capacity for that role, and so the right person is not just going to send a random resume. So
You never know.
you never know. Maybe you should forward that on to me. I should call that guy. But Tim, legitimately, like 3 times this past week, once with my kid who's about to go into 5th grade, once with a parent, and then once with like one of the high schoolers that comes to our youth group, it was oh, you're not planning on doing this in perpetuity? Huh. I'm going to have some real issue with that. So at what point did you say, I mean, you knew that you were hiring someone and you had someone who was there as a volunteer, but when I have current high schoolers being like, oh, so you want me to start over with somebody new? Do I just bite my lip and keep adding on? I mean, let's be real. I have a pretty robust Dropbox folder.
You do.
And I have your DYM login, so it's not like
welcome.
yeah, I was running out of Screen Games, and then I logged into your account, and now I'm good for the next 5 years.
You can go to my downloads, and you don't have to buy them. Like,
Yeah.
You can just go to my downloads and
That's what I've been doing.
Yep.
So, Timmy, I'm good,
I know.
but at what point is it more healthy, especially for my kids? Because and we're not a giant church. I think we were 80 some people yesterday. We have about 10 kids in the youth group, but when 3 of those kids are mine, fast forward a year from now, is it, hey, I trust myself to be the best youth pastor that we're going to get? Or is it, Riley was just commenting, I was his youth pastor, and that relationship has lasted for forever. I want that kind of, I want my kids to have someone that was their youth pastor.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to balance. And really this past week, it's been kind of in your face of, Andrew, you got to figure out what this is going to be like.
I'm glad you told your elders what you did, because now I think you have to stick to your guns. I did the same thing in January of 23. I just said, look, I will lead this until the end of summer. Come summer, we'll start a formal search, but by the new school year, I'd like to have that person named. And we all agreed, yep, this is going to be a stretch for me for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. But it was the healthiest thing we could do for the church and for the student ministry at that time. But at some point, the health of Dr. Andrew Larson has to come into play, and like you said, the health of your kids. I had a daughter yesterday tell me, because they knew I was doing a wedding. They said, "Daddy, do you think it'd be okay if I asked Mr. Todd to do my wedding?" And I said, "That would be awesome." That's a huge win. And the dude's only been there a year, and my kids already feel that Riley Andrew type relationship.
That connected to him, yeah.
Yes, I think your boys deserve that. You had that.
I don't know if Riley's still watching, but he got really nervous right before his wedding, and he had to tinkle. It was hilarious. You should have been there. It was in Arkansas. It would have been a long commute for you, but it was really, really funny.
CJ says, I stepped into our youth room yesterday just to keep connected. I feel you on that one. They came up with the idea of trying to stick a plunger on my head, which CJ's bald, so this game would work.
Yeah.
I told them they could if they got to 50 a week in youth worship. They agreed. I like where this is going, CJ. Youth pastor comes in and asked what we were talking about. I told him. He laughed. He said, "Dude, we had 40 last week." I probably should have shot a little. Okay. CJ, I mean, we're going to need a picture. We're going to need photographic. If you get us a video of this game being played, we will air it on the morning after ministry show. Right?
CJ,
we have to.
I really hope you get a new plunger. It's not like one that's like in the youth ministry bathroom somewhere.
The plunger needs to come right from we're going 90s youth group games here. I explained to my son what we used to do when I was a student, to which he replied, I grew up in the wrong era of youth ministry. He's so bummed that he doesn't get to play the grossest games that would get youth pastors arrested today. I was known as the throw-up kid.
When's the last time you dropped a sea bass in a blender? It's been a while. It's
sea
been
bass
a hot
in a
minute.
blender, your McDonald's in a blender, your Mountain Dew chug with cayenne pepper in the 2-liter bottle.
My stomach
vomited for
hurts so bad
3
right now.
hours. All through the message, they gave youth group Tim a trash can, and I hurled half a trash can. All youth group. It was awesome. Should we bring those days? We'd get arrested. You can't do that anymore.
And 12 kids got saved that night.
Rebaptisms, you name it. Everything was happening.
It was in the covenant, Tim, we don't say rebaptism, we say a rededication of my baptism with water.
That's the one. CJ, okay, he did make some stipulations. He has to purchase the plunger himself. Cop out. We'll take it. Riley says banana with Sprite. Andrew, does that ring a bell?
Sure.
Good old
it's delicious.
days. It doesn't sound terrible, but it could possibly mess up your stomach. I think youth pastors used to just research what would make students throw up, and that's the game. Like,
Tim, I remember a youth specialties book that was like get
Grossest
a metal
games
folding
possible?
chair.
Yeah.
Well, but it was like get a metal folding chair and have someone sit in and then hook it up to a car battery.
Should we do these things?
Forget Chubby Bunny. This was like
Andrew,
how long can you sit on the electrified chair?
We can't miss this opportunity. If you register for the Practically Pastoring Conference, there's going to be a segment, Andrew. There's going to be a segment. It's just going to be called Vintage Youth Group Games. There will be prizes. There will be prizes.
I'm so glad that this is happening at Lakeview and my church can't get sued.
Each one of us are going to come up with our favorite gross game, but we had to have actually that's the trick. You had to have actually played it when you were a student, and we are going to replay these games. So get to the Practically Pastoring Conference. You're not going to want to miss gross games with Tim and Andrew. It's going to be a great segment.
Timmy, I've got a couple of we've been doing some renovation, and I should probably get a bagster or a dumpster because I've got 2 toilets in my garage right now that have come out. So if you need just a toilet for a game, I'm your guy.
What's worse, toilets or toes?
That should have been the name of this episode. Toilets or toes?
Toilets or toes? Andrew, it's well after noon.
It's noon. It's
you all
lunch
have to
o'clock.
eat lunch. We all have another podcast to do. We'll I'm guessing same time, same place, maybe even together next week.
I hope we're in person. We bought those brand new fancy microphones.
I know.
We've used them once.
It's time to use them again.
Ministry, man. Ministry and datastry. 2 things that you can't actually predict your time in sometimes.
I totally get it. Hey, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Miss you already.
See you then.
Trevor, how stunned are you by the offensive performance in the last 6 quarters?
Yeah, I mean, we suck right now, so I don't. Pretty shocked.